If you've ever bought a budget bike that looked sleek online, only to discover the motor sputters on a hill and the battery dies after a few rides, you know the kind of buyer's remorse that turns a fun idea into a frustrating chore. That's why I'm spending a few minutes talking about the HXQ5 Shark, a bike that positions itself as a high-power, long-range alternative to those cheap knockoffs, and whether it actually lives up to the hype. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's acknowledge the hesitation most people feel when a 2000 W motor and a 37 miles per hour top speed are advertised. Those numbers sound like a sport bike on wheels, yet the practical question is, can a commuter trust that power on a daily route that includes stop-and-go traffic, a steep hill to the office, and the occasional weekend trail run? I've dug through the specs, compared them with a handful of similar models, and tried to piece together real-world expectations from the data the manufacturer provides. Who should consider the HXQ5? If you're an experienced rider who regularly tackles hills that would make a standard pedal-assist bike struggle, and you need a bike that can handle both city commutes and light off-road excursions, this one fits the bill. The 48V20Ah battery, built from EVE 18650 cells, promises up to about 32 to 68 miles per charge depending on how hard you push the throttle. For a commuter who rides 20-30 miles a day and wants a safety net for occasional weekend rides, that range is realistic. The dual-disc brakes give you confidence when descending a steep hill, and the front-adjustable suspension smooths out potholes on city streets. If, however, you're a casual rider who just wants a breezy ride to the grocery store and expects a bike to be mostly plug-and-play, the Q5 may feel over-engineered. Its 2000 W Bafang brushless motor is powerful, but it also draws more current, meaning you'll notice the battery drain faster if you're constantly riding at the top end of that 37 miles per hour ceiling. A lot of users in this segment end up throttling back to preserve range, which can make the whole high-speed claim feel more like marketing fluff than a usable feature. One of the practical strengths that shows up when you look past the headline specs is the torque sensor. The Q5 uses an intelligent torque sensor to modulate motor assistance based on how hard you're pedaling, which feels smoother than older pedal assist systems that just add a fixed amount of power. In everyday city traffic, this translates to a natural boost when you start from a stoplight, no more lurching forward as the motor kicks in. The sensor also helps you conserve battery when you're just coasting, because it won't over-assist on flat sections. Another point that often gets lost in the hype is the tire choice. The bike comes equipped with CST puncture-resistant tires, a solid decision for commuters who can't afford a flat in the middle of a commute. Those tires are wider than the typical road bike, giving better grip on wet pavement and a bit more comfort on uneven city streets. In my experience, that extra width also adds a little stability when you're riding at higher speeds on a bike that can hit 37 miles per hour. You feel steadier than you would on a skinny commuter tire. Now, let's talk about the hidden trade-offs. The bike's frame is described as aerospace-grade aluminum, which sounds impressive, but at 27.5 inches it's also relatively heavy. Even with the battery removed, the bike tips the scales around 60 pounds. That isn't a problem once you're riding, but if you live in an apartment building with stairs, lifting it to the second floor can become a workout in itself. The removable battery helps you can pull the pack out, carry it up, and then snap it back on, but you'll still need a sturdy bike stand or a ramp if you plan on storing it off the ground. Heat management is another subtle issue. A 2000 W motor generates a lot of heat, especially when you push it hard on a steep incline. The manufacturer doesn't provide a specific cooling system, so you'll notice the motor gets warm after a sustained climb. In temperate climates that isn't a deal-breaker, but if you live in a hot summer zone, you might need to give the bike a brief cooldown after a particularly aggressive ride to avoid any long-term wear on the motor windings. The saddle is a VEL0 suction model with a central cavity meant to relieve pressure. For short rides it's adequate, but if you're planning on multi-hour rides, the design can feel a bit firm after the first hour. That's a typical compromise on many sport-oriented bikes. They prioritize power delivery over plush comfort. You can always upgrade the seat later, but it's good to know that the stock saddle isn't a lounge chair replacement. On the tech side, the bike includes built-in front and rear lights, which is a nice safety bonus for early morning or dusk commuters. The lights draw power from the main battery, meaning you won't have